Good afternoon. My name is Jacob Fry. I'm the mayor of Minneapolis, and we are here to respond to a number of credible reports from several media outlets relaying that there are as many as 100 federal agents that will be deployed to the Twin Cities with a specific focus on targeting our Somali community. To our Somali community, we love you and we stand with you. That commitment is rock solid. Minneapolis is proud to be home to the largest Somali community in the entire country. They've been here for decades in many instances. They're entrepreneurs and fathers. They benefit both the culture and the economic resilience of our city. Targeting Somali people means that due process will be violated. Mistakes will be made. And let's be clear, it means that American citizens will be detained for no other reason than the fact that they look like they are Somali. That is not now and will never be a legitimate reason. For decades, the Somali community has added greatly to our city. The economic fabric, their hard work, their leadership, it has made Minneapolis a better place. We are not given advance notice or inside information about these kinds of operations. But here's what we can promise. We will not compromise our values here in Minneapolis. Our values and our commitment to the Somali community, to every community of immigrants and people in our city, is rock solid and will be unwavering. Our police, many of whom are Somali themselves, are trusted partners in keeping people safe. They will not collaborate with any federal agency around doing immigration enforcement work. Our city staff and our law enforcement will not ask the question as to whether an individual is documented or not. And by the way, there are more than 80,000 Somali people living in Minnesota. Almost all of them are both documented and citizens. And the city has worked with community partners who have compiled Know Your Rights information. And so here's what we know. You have the right to remain silent, and you have the right to a lawyer. You can refuse to sign documents until that lawyer is present. You have the right to not open the door unless a warrant has been shown. The city of Minneapolis provides free immigration legal resources. And if you or a family member or a loved one needs access to a lawyer, go to our website or call 311. And we're going to work with our partners. Partners like the city of St. Paul, partners like the state of Minnesota, to do everything to support our neighbors and to coordinate on any incident that happens. Obviously, this is a frightening moment for our Somali community. There have been many frightening moments over the last several months to our immigrant communities in Minneapolis. In Minneapolis, our diversity is diverse. People come from 1,000 different backgrounds, mentalities, and perspectives with one beautiful thing in common. They love our city and they're proud to call it home. And we're going to stand with them every step of the way. But we need to also be demanding better from an administration who is intent on targeting people and committing so much time, energy, and money to terrorizing certain groups within our community. That's not American. That's not what we are about. And we're going to do right by every single person in our cities. And so to our Somali community, Daman Shabka, Somaliyed Kunul, Minnesota Garahan, Minneapolis, Waan Ku Janilahai, Waan Ku Gereb Taganahan. We love you, we stand with you, and we aren't backing down. With that, I will turn it over to the mayor of St. Paul, Mayor Melvin Carter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Melvin Carter, the mayor of the city of St. Paul. As Mayor Fry just said, we are hearing credible information around a convergence of federal law enforcement officials, federal agents coming into our community with the intentionality around targeting our Somali community. Just earlier today, we saw, sadly, the President of the United States open his mouth to take a whole group of people, a whole country of people, and denigrate just based on where they come from. And somehow we found ourselves to a place where that doesn't surprise any of us. But when the mayor said the word un-American, it rang true to me. I grew up celebrating in America and learning about an America who prided ourselves on being a beacon that drew people from other places. I grew up in an America that prided itself on being a country of immigrants, that prided itself on the fact that people from other countries would look across a whole ocean and say, that's where I want to be. It seems that what we learned was that we've prided ourselves, and we have decades and generations of priding ourselves on being a beacon for immigration from Europe. I mean, it seems to many of us like the darker skinned the immigrants who come to our country are, the more our posture on immigration as a country has shifted. That's un-American. That's concerning. And I get particularly concerned as someone who, we work all day, every day on public safety and keeping our communities safe. And all of you have heard me brag about the public safety outcomes that we're achieving and that we're really proud of. And we've understood and embraced an approach to public safety that isn't about pitting our officers or law enforcement against community members, but it's figuring out how to get our officers and our community members working together on the same side of the table as much as humanly possible. And so when the last thing that we need is federal agents coming here, pretending that we should be afraid of somebody just based on the color of their skin, just based on what they look like, just based on what country their ancestors claim as honor as a motherland. The last thing that we need is federal agents coming to town attempting to turn us against each other, to turn us against ourselves. The last thing we need is federal agents coming in town to create chaos and challenge for us. And so we stand together. Both of our cities have stood up immigrant and refugee services supports. In St. Paul, it's our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Services in our city attorney's office. We encourage folks to look to those websites. We encourage folks to look to the organizations that serve immigrants and refugees across our community, because we have constant reminders out there about what your rights are. You have rights. That's an American thing. You have rights. We all have rights. And so we'll be sharing on social media today some of those, what those resources are that people need to look to. We'll be working with our police department to ensure our capability of facilitating peaceful protests, as I imagine we'll see some people who will want to stand up and say that we disagree with this federal targeting. And just like Mayor Fry just said, we in St. Paul celebrate our large Somali community. We celebrate the contributions that our community has made in every aspect, whether that's education, whether that's public service, whether that's public safety, whether that's our economics and local jobs. We celebrate that. Our community would not be the same without it. And so we continue to stand with the members of our Somali community. We continue to stand across municipal boundaries and across communities to say that the Twin Cities is not a place that tolerates or embraces hate. To say that the hateful and damaging rhetoric that we're hearing from Washington, D.C. right now is reprehensible. And it is not something that represents who our community is or who our country can be. And we call on ourselves. I call on myself in the face of hatred, in the face of division, in the face of what seems to be a strategy centered around intentional chaos, to lead with listening, to lead with compassion, to engage with humanity, and to ensure that we are every single day modeling the type of behavior, the type of approach, and the type of humanity that we sure wish our federal representatives in Washington, D.C. would follow suit. We have the capacity as a local community to be that loving, incredible place. That's who we are. That's what we are. And that's certainly something that we don't need federal agents coming and disturbing. Thank you all for being here. And with that, I think I'm turning over to
Councilmember Osman.
Oh, I'm sorry, to Councilmember Osman.
Thank you.
It's good to see you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamal Osman. I am the council member of Ward 6, someone who represents the largest East African community in Minneapolis. I am proud to say I'm a Somali American. This country welcomed me and my family 26 years ago. It has provided me a life that I did not have in Somalia. We came here and we are thankful to be here. I've been educated here, got the opportunity to serve my community, to be a council member. I know many families are fearful tonight. They are. But I want you to know that City of Minneapolis stand behind you as the leaders, both mayors and the chief and everyone that stand behind you are here to stand with you. Our community has lived through fear in the past. And we're not going to let us divide that. We're going to stay informed, we're going to stay safe, and we're going to support each other. We will continue to working our partners on the ground so residents know their rights. They know where to turn for help, and we know that Minneapolis will not abandon. One of the things I do want to say, and obviously everyone knows that our president is racist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, and we are going to fight that. America has a history of fighting and stopping those kind of individuals who continue to divide people and divide communities. Many Somalis that live in this community are working at your groceries, working at your hospitals, delivering your babies, they're doctors. They are very successful individuals. Now I would like to switch into Somali to speak to my community. Assalamu alaikum. Walaalayaal, waxaan la hadlayaa community-ga magaalada Minneapolis. Anigoo ah Jamal Usman. Waxaan inii sheegayaa City Minneapolis garabkiina ay taagan tahay. Community-geena target ayaa lagu yahay. Qolyahan dalka soo galaya oo la sheegay hadda in 100 qof ka badan lagu soo wado. Waa inaan ka fijignaanaa. Waa inaan la hadashaa lawyer-kaaga. Waa inaan ogaataa rights-kaaga. United States rights ayaa ku leedahay. Waa inaanan division aanan la ku suubinin. Xaquuq baa u leedahay, due process baa jira dalkan aan joogno. Marka taxadara City Minneapolisna waa in la taaganta garabkeena taaganta. Thank you so much. I would like to welcome the Chief O'Hara.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N, O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. I know the recent reports that are circulating among the media are concerning. I just want to be clear. We are not confirming anything that has been in any of these reports, and we don't have any official information ourselves. What we are aware of is what has been happening in our community. And our involvement, the mayor's leadership on that, council members and other elected officials in the city did not start today. That's been going on. The fear that the community has been experiencing, immigrant communities have been experiencing in this city is real. I have been meeting with pastors, imams, business owners, that are having a real impact in our city. People are afraid to go to church. They're afraid to go to worship. They're not spending money at a lot of our immigrant businesses in the city. And from a public safety perspective, the fear of people to cause the police is something that to call the police in a time of need is something that harms everyone. We don't need that. If people are able to prey on certain people in our community, to victimize them, to rob them, because they think those folks are less likely to call the police, that makes everyone in the city less safe. It does absolutely nothing for public safety. So I just need to be clear, as our mayor has stated, the Minneapolis Police Department does not work with federal law enforcement for the purpose of conducting immigration enforcement. We don't provide information to federal immigration authorities. We don't ask people about their immigration status. Our mission is clear: to protect life, to uphold the law, and to maintain safety for all people in our communities. Over the last 24 hours, I have addressed every roll call in this city, from last night into this morning. Not because of these news reports, but because I have been concerned. Both over the weekend, we've been getting reports, increased reports of immigration-related activity from members in our community. We can't verify that, but we know people in the community are heightened. And we also know that there have been incidents more recently, 2 very recently in St. Paul, around immigration enforcement. So our objective is straightforward as a police department. I want to try and minimize our officers' exposure to any of that type of enforcement activity and only respond when there is a legitimate public safety issue that we are responsible to our community to provide. And that means when there are threats of violence, when there is actual violence, or when there's property destruction. In moments like this, I know the tensions are high. I know how real the fear is in our community. People are going to want to speak out, to protest, and to exercise their First Amendment rights. Those are the rights of everyone in our community. And I want to be clear that we will absolutely defend people's rights to do just that. I also ask that if demonstrations do happen around any type of immigration raid, that they remain nonviolent, so that we can keep everyone in our community safe, so that we minimize the risk of any tragedy happening, or the immigrant communities that are already suffering to suffer that much more if there is destruction in our neighborhoods. Our officers are committed to serving a diverse city. The mayor, a council member referenced, we have many officers who themselves are immigrants, and many of us are deeply connected to the immigrant community in our city. With that, we are also working around revisions to our immigration enforcement policy. That has been in the works for weeks. We've obtained feedback from community and community-based organizations, and we will be issuing additional guidance this week to our officers, again, to try and address some of the issues that we're seeing nationally, and to provide clear guidelines to our officers. With that, I'll turn it back to our mayor.
We'll open it to questions.
Just to be clear, these 100 agents are on the ground and they call the crowd control. Will both cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, continue to send officers for that capacity?
I was talking to Mayor Carter about this just recently, and here's the thing. Our police officers are not ICE agents. They will not cooperate with ICE agents. But the presence of ICE agents doesn't suddenly make our police officers not police officers. That's what Mayor Carter said to me the other day, and he's exactly right. Our police officers have an obligation, first of all, not to enforce federal immigration law. That is not their job. I want our police officers keeping people safe. I want our police officers responding to violent crime. I want our police officers preventing homicides and carjackings and shootings from occurring in the first place. You know what I don't want them doing? I don't want our police officers spending a single second hunting the father down that just dropped his kids off at daycare, who's about to go and work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Mogadishu or who happens to be from Ecuador. That man makes our city a better place. That man is a valued resident of our city and someone who we're proud to have him call Minneapolis and or St. Paul home. Our police officers do respond to 911 calls. And there are instances where they will have to escort an ambulance. There will be instances when somebody will call 911 reporting a kidnapping. Many times those calls do in fact come in even during some form of federal raid. So the presence of ICE doesn't mean that our responsibility to keep people safe stops. It means that we have to be there to protect people, to protect property, and to save lives. That job doesn't get thrown in the garbage simply because the actions of the federal government happen to be garbage themselves. Please.
If I can respond to that, what we need is a law enforcement presence that's a stabilizing and reassuring presence. Our law enforcement presence ought to make people feel more safe, less fearful, that's the word that you use, and help us facilitate safe outcomes in our community. That's the problem with what we see from the federal government right now, is that we're seeing federal agents operate in communities across our country, not just St. Paul and Minneapolis, but in communities across our country in ways that certainly by certainly have the impact and actually seem to be designed for the purpose of making people more fearful and making people feel less safe in our community. That's a subversion. The problem is, in St. Paul and in Minneapolis and all across the country, is that we see federal agents showing up, and like I said, it feels to me intentionally, but whether it's intentional or not, federal agents showing up in communities across this country and having the impact of making people feel less safe, of making situations feel chaotic. And it is the responsibility of our police officers to respond to unsafe and chaotic situations in our community and help to try to be a stabilizing presence. And that's what I said earlier, and I think Chief O'Hara acknowledged this as well. And the truth is, you can interrupt me if you like, I don't even actually like the phrase crowd control, because our goal has to be what I said at the beginning, to be a stabilizing presence, to be a reassuring presence, and as you've heard many people say today, to facilitate, not control a crowd, but to facilitate the crowd's ability to safely express their First Amendment rights. Now, one of the key things to that is we have people across this metro area who've been trained as peaceful interveners, as people who've been trained as witnesses, as people who've been trained to be able to help be organizers. And when we show up to those protests, it's our responsibility to help enforce and follow the norms that help to keep that a peaceful protest, so that we can do our part as well to help be a stabilizing influence. And that's sort of what I was talking about when I said, we have to do the opposite of what they're doing. Sadly, we live in an era where we have to find all of our ways, whether that's community members, whether that's protesters, whether that's elected leaders, whether that's our brothers and sisters in uniform. We all have to find ways to help stabilize things that it feels like our federal government and our President of the United States are intentionally destabilizing. Yes, we need our officers to be helpful to be stabilizing presence in those spaces and in all of our spaces in our community. Thank you.
Do officials in each city currently have an open line of dialogue with the Department of Homeland Security, just to get a basic sense of what you are responding to when the police does in fact end up going to these scenes? Or are you essentially showing up blind at a chaotic confrontation?
Can you repeat the question?
I will. Yep. So the question, Ernesto's question was, do officials in our city have communication with the Department of Homeland Security so that when these large-scale raids happen, we're not going in blind? So we do work with federal law enforcement literally every day around violent crime, around people smuggling fentanyl into the country, gang violence, those types of things. That is a part of our job. But our officers that do work with federal law enforcement have very clear directives, and federal law enforcement is aware that we absolutely will have nothing to do with anything related to immigration enforcement. So as you are aware, the one instance that we've had in this city, we were caught by surprise because of that. But yes, on a day-to-day basis, we are still working with federal law enforcement to prosecute people that are carjacking people in this city, that are involved in gang violence, that are involved in smuggling drugs and shooting people. That still happens. But no, there is no communication around immigration enforcement.
Chief, what preparations are you making, and what are you telling officers? Are you having have a riot gear at the ready just in case things get out of hand? And what have you been telling your officers in those roll calls that you've been?
So the last 24 hours, I had the entire command staff with me, all of the chiefs at roll call, the leaders from our consent decree implementation unit present, as well as our officers that deal with response to large-scale incidents. So basically what I do is I have the consent decree implementation unit go over the city and the police department's policy around immigration enforcement to ensure everyone is abundantly clear where the guardrails are, and to talk about additional guidance that is coming out. Additionally, we have our folks talk about, from a tactical perspective, obviously because we're not going to get involved in legitimate First Amendment activity, but if something becomes a life-threatening emergency with a large crowd, ensuring that there is a plan beforehand, ensuring that our officers are aware that, oftentimes there's multiple agencies involved in these things, and we're finding out after the fact, ensuring that our officers are aware that they're only going to take orders from people appointed over them in the Minneapolis Police Department, and ensuring that there is a plan if we do have to rescue a person who may be injured or anything like that, that there is a plan to get in and get out as safely as possible. We will not automatically respond just because someone has called and asking for assistance. But if something is an emergency, there is no time to talk about and have it go up the chain of command and say, are we going to respond? But things unfold very quickly, and we will do our sworn duty to respond to protect life when it's needed.
You've got time for about two more questions.
Mayor Fry, you described it as a when, not an if, that ICE will be breaking the law when they engage in this operation targeting the Somali community. What tangible action can the city of Minneapolis and the police department take to actually protect people who have every legal right to be here and to hold ICE agents accountable if, as you described it, they do break the law?
I'll start by noting that all of this is based on reports that have come out recently from the media. If, in fact, those reports are accurate, and there are 100 federal immigration agents that will be deployed upon Minneapolis and St. Paul specifically with the intention of targeting our Somali community, they're going to run into all sorts of constitutional impossibility that they can't begin to comprehend. Again, there's more than 80,000 Somali people that live in the state of Minnesota. A very tiny portion of them aren't citizens. In other words, the vast majority, almost all of the Somali people that are here in Minnesota and in Minneapolis are citizens. I feel that it will be a practical inevitability that when people are arrested by federal immigration agents, they're going to get the wrong people. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to screw it up so badly that they're not just violating habeas corpus, but they are taking away the rights of American citizens. I've heard recently some of the comments that Donald Trump has made. I've heard commentary that a number of people around this country are making about our Somali community as a whole, holding them at fault for the actions of a few. The perpetrators of any form of crime should be held accountable in the United States, regardless of what ethnicity, religion, or background you come from, period. And whole communities aren't then held accountable, though, for the actions of a few. I'm Jewish. But when Bernie Madoff was committing all sorts of financial crimes. Nobody held me accountable for them. I don't know if Ted Kaczynski is Polish or not, but regardless, if he is, nobody held a whole bunch of Polish people accountable for what Ted Kaczynski did. I could give 13 more examples. But the bottom line is that we have a justice system in this country, and this justice system relies on due process. It's a justice system that we abide by. We have a constitution in this country. And for those that claim to be constitutional scholars, you can't throw that constitution out when it doesn't benefit your interest or doesn't hate on the groups that you hate. That's what we're seeing a lot of right now. Yeah, I'm going to have the chief say one thing, and we'll take one more question then.
I just wanted to add one point onto the original question around community and fears that things may be unlawful. We have experienced reports in this city, and I'm sure in St. Paul also, where people call to say that there's folks that are masked, that they're not sure if they're law enforcement, that they may be kidnapping people. Like, we have had those reports. I want to be clear to the community. The community should know that if you see something like that, that is legitimate, that you don't know if someone is law enforcement, you should call 911. And you should provide as much information as possible, because let's not forget, we very recently had tragedy in this state by someone who was purporting to be law enforcement. So please, let's be clear. That's something everyone should report, and that we will immediately respond to, and we will document, whether it's somebody's not sure if there's a kidnapping happening, somebody's not sure if that there's law enforcement present or not. And that's something else that's additional policy requirements that we are implementing, that we will document and report these types of things anytime that we hear it, and reminding our officers of their duty to intervene. So if there is anything that is a violation of someone's human rights or civil rights, excessive force or anything like that, they absolutely have a duty to intervene as police officers.
Okay, one more question. One more question from someone who has not asked a question yet, please.
Right here.
Thank you.
This is for Mayor Fry and also Councilman Osmond. You just heard the president say that he doesn't want Somalis in the U.S. and wants them to go back to their homeland. What's your response directly to him?
He's wrong, and we want them here. Somali people have been an extraordinary benefit. I'll say it again. Somali people have been a benefit to our city for longer than I have been in our city. They have started businesses and created jobs. They have added to the cultural fabric of what Minneapolis is. They were welcoming to me when I first came out to Minneapolis. And in fact, they were one of the first groups that I myself got to know. To, again, villainize an entire group is ridiculous under any circumstances. And the way that Donald Trump is consistently doing it, I think calls into question major constitutional violations. And it certainly violates the moral fabric of what we stand by in this country as Americans. Councilmember Osmond, I'm sure you can add a bit more.
Somali Americans, Somalis are here to stay. America is an immigrant country. It has been an immigrant country for over how many years? Hundreds of years. Our community contribute a lot to this state and the city. We love this city. This is home. We're not going anywhere. Call the American people to stop the hate, to stop the Donald Trump hate. He continue to divide Americans. That's what he's doing. Like I say, it's time to stand up against his hate and unite. Somalis are here to stay. We love this state. We love this country. This is home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
No, I'd actually like to respond to that as well. The words that founded this country, the words that launched this American experience, start with "we the people." And I believe that the sacred moments in American history are the moments we've had to decide who the we is, who gets to be included in the we. Do we mean black people? Do we mean women? Do we mean immigrants? Do we mean gay and lesbian teenagers? We have to decide who is a part of the we when we say we the people. We the people. And the Constitution of the United States, the Declaration of Independence, says that the authority, the just power of our government, the just power of those federal agents, the just power of our police officers, that authority is granted by the consent of the governed. And so when we talk about attacks, racist, Islamophobic, xenophobic attacks on our Somali community, and you combine that with what Mayor Frye just said, the vast majority of our Somali community are citizens. So who he just attacked isn't just Somalis. Who he attacked is Somali Americans. Who he attacked is Americans. And so if the President of the United States is telling you out loud that he hates Americans, then I can't imagine a greater confession of incompetence to do the job that you've been hired to do than to say you don't believe that Americans belong in America. That's what Donald Trump said to us today, and it's very important for us to understand that that was not just an attack on our Somali community, it was an attack on our Somali community, and everything Mayor Frye and Councilman Osmond said is important. But it's easy to sit at home and say, oh, he's attacking them. He's attacking Americans, American citizens, American residents, American neighbors. They're destabilizing communities and trying to get us to be afraid of somebody because of what they look like. And as Mayor Frye said, it's probable that there will be constitutional abuses. It's not probable. It's what they're saying. They are saying they target people based on how they look. Now, all of us grew up in classes that taught us that that's wrong, and it's still wrong today. So what you heard the president say today was that he is incompetent and incapable of being a president for the people of the United States because he just said out loud that he despises Americans. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, I've got some housekeeping stuff as soon as they leave. You just hold one sec.
walxaha qaarkood waxay noqon karaan khatar haddii lagu tuuro qashinka. Si badqab ah u tuur qashinka khatarta ah ee guriga. Waa bilaash. walxaha sida baytariyada, waxyaabaha lagu nadiifiyo guriga, nalalka, kuwan iyo kuwa kale oo badan ayaa la geyn karaa xarunta Environmental Center ee Roseville. Farintani waxay kaaga imanaysaa Hennepin Health. waxaa la gaaray xilligii aad dooran lahayd caymis caafimaad oo dabooli kara baahidaada. haddii aad ku nooshahay degmada Hennepin aadna u qalanto caymiska caafimaadka ee dawladda bixiso, Hennepin Health ayaa ku siinaysa caymis baahidaada caafimaad daboolaya. caymiska caafimaadka ee Hennepin wuxuu daboolayaa daryeelka caafimaadka, ilkaha, xanuunka maskaxda, waxayna kugu xidhaysaa dhakhaatiir badan. waxaa intaa dheer in lagu siinayo kaararka hadiyadda haddii aad samaysid baaritaanada sanadlaha ah. wax badan ka ogow hennepinhealth.org.